Okay, we're going to explain the new feature in TracManager called Inventory Locations, located under the Materials and Inventory tab under the Materials folder, second item down, Inventory Locations. Before I jump in there, I'll just show you then under the Materials and Inventory, let's say I were to populate this with some data. You'll see that the location in bin over here on this screen is going to show you what the current setting is. The default in our system is going to be a location called stockroom in a bin without a name, blank. So when you bring in materials, say from Cabinet Vision or some other source, it's going to normally populate it into those locations, which is everything in one place. And as you can see, when I open this, you see everything that I have is in one place. Before I get into the details of this, I'll explain this form. You'll have some filters, category. I can filter and say, just show me panel stock or just show me some category. So I only show those. I can also use subcategory, and I could filter on location. I could also look for a particular part number. Now, if you'll notice also in the list, you'll see quantity equals, and a number that's non-zero, the whole item will be bold. So it lets you know that there's actual material at that location and the quantity that's there. I can say only show me items that are a non-zero value. And so that's how you'll see that. Now, if I want to create an organization of my places I store material, we have to think of it as a parent and a child. The parent would be the stock room and the child would be the bin. This is called a bin. So if I come here, I can actually rename this bin to something other than bin 1, something other than blank, okay? And if I want to organize, let's say I have a receiving area, so I want to have a location called receiving, and maybe I want to have a location called a mezzanine, and let's just make one more called west wall. It can be anything you want, as many or as few locations as you want. Within each location, you can have bins. So I want to create, I'm right clicking by the way. I want to create a new location in a new bin in West Wall. So I'm going to call this rack number 1. Maybe I want to store some sheet stock there in rack number 1. Let's make another one and call it rack number 2. Just to give you the idea how that works. Now, if I want to move all of my material, let's say over here I've got all this material and I want to move it into one of these locations. Let's turn this on. So in my stock room, I've got to scroll a little bit and I've got only panel stock here. So let's just make it easy, go toward the end. And let's say I want to take this item and say that's going to go to rack number 1. And I can just drag it and drop it in there. If I drag it into the bin, it'll highlight it for you if it's selected, okay? So that's going to put those in rack number 1. Let's put some stuff in rack number 2, just so that you can see how you can organize this. So what you've got is you've got materials that are located in a location in a rack, or in a bin, I'm sorry. And this way you would be able to tell, like if I want to look at this from this standpoint, and I wanted to see, let's look at all the materials, and I wanted to look at what I have in a various locations, what I can do is I can see them right on this grid. I've got a lot to load, so it takes a moment, be patient. I've got a lot to load, so what's going to happen is we will see not only what do we have on hand, let's go to the grid, but we'll also see what do we have in a location. So let's sort this the other way, and you'll see that you have on the west wall, you have, there's nothing on hand, there's no quantities there. If there was a quantity in these, it would show you what was available what was on hand, etc. So you could see this is helpful from being able to see where material is if you wanted to organize it that way. And also makes your counting a lot easier when you're doing inventory or adjustments. So this, you get to it from here. The user rights to see inventory locations to appear here. It will be the same authorization rights for the materials and inventory. So if you have rights to the materials and inventory, you will see the inventory locations. It's just like another aspect of that.